Hey everyone, welcome once again to Vicious Chats. I am Tim Vicious. With me today, I've known this dude for a very long time. Head of the Coffee Squad, not to be confused with Seymour Snots Coffee Core, which we're both a member of. He's also a musician. He's also awesome wrestling dude. Me and him, we've talked shop plenty of times on it. Please give it up for B Meads, dude. How are you, man?
What's going on? Meads like the honey wine.
I keep trying to say that, but I don't know why I always mispronounce it. I'm phonetic. I spell and say things on how I read it.
Hmm
So I screw up on a lot of things I say more so than not.
It's no
you
no
know?
harm, no foul. You don't know how many people say meds, and I'm completely fine with it. I know what they mean. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
me. Like the paper company.
yeah. So like I was saying, you do the coffee squad. Let me ask you first and foremost, because I did bring it up to Seymour also. How you take your coffee, man?
How do I take it? Any way possible. Any way except
Yeah.
except decaf. We don't do decaf.
No, no,
No way.
no.
But I do enjoy black coffee. It took me a while to get there. I did not just start drinking black coffee and was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. I was like pouring sugar in it and creamer, and basically it wasn't even coffee anymore. But you start meeting other people who drink it a different way, and they're like, hey, try it this way, try it that way. And yeah, I could tell you a story about the whole coffee squad thing, but to sum it to shorten it all up, if you've ever seen the was it the Fifth Element, where
Yeah.
Corbin asked Lilu, he's like, "Do you have a shorter name? Because her name is like really long." He's like, "Zip, Lilu." So I always tell people, "Can you give me the Lilu version? That's the short version." But to give you
Dude,
the
I
Lilu
like
version,
that. I think I'm gonna steal that line now.
yeah, I say it a lot. To give you the Lilu version, I just met the right people that kind of steered me in the right direction to try different things and try it a different way. And yeah, once I got into trying coffee black and letting it cool off a little bit so I could actually taste it, uh, the notes started hitting. I started to become obsessed because I was like, wow, you got all these different coffees from different parts of the world, and you can make them in so many different brewing methods and get a different flavor. This each time, this is crazy. So yeah, I've become obsessed. But I can drink coffee black. I can drink it with cream, but I don't put sugar in my coffee. I usually just let the creamer sweeten it, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't do sugar. I'll use cream if I absolutely have to. I joke around all the time with my family saying, listen, if you ever hear me ask for a coffee with cream, that's a call sign for help. I I had really wicked bad asthma as a kid, so like I would legitimately get gassed and out of breath just running up and down the block.
Mhm.
And if I couldn't get an inhaler, if I couldn't reach my inhaler, or if I couldn't get a breathing treatment right away, my parents, my mom would make me drink a cup of black coffee. So
Mhm.
I grew accustomed to it to where now yeah, I'm making coffee. I take it just straight black.
Mhm. All it took
Have
was
you?
my first coffee con. And I went to Coffee Con up in New York. I met this guy. I was just like, let me see. They got Comic Con for the comic book nerds.
I was
Let me
just
see.
gonna ask, what Coffee Con?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. I've been to three of them.
I have got to look into this when we're done now because oh my god, I think I may have found my people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever tried Death Wish?
I have tried it once. I have tried
I
it.
love the stuff. I got
That's
me and my sister. I got my sister actually hooked on it
Mhm.
because it's like anytime I go to Walmart, I always have to check the coffee aisle to see if they got a bag. Because me and her, we both drink the medium roast.
Mhm.
The espresso in the dark, they're good, but they taste a little too bitter for us.
Mhm.
But I'll get the I'll get the medium roast, and anytime I'm ever in there, I always got to grab her a bag or a cake or a box for K cups because she's got a K cup machine at her work. And I'm like, hey, and I'll send her a picture, be like, click. This is why you love me, right? She's like, oh, thank you. And
Yep.
trust me, the people that work with me thank you also.
It's just a little strong. It's like a uppercut of
Oh
power
yeah,
with the caffeine on the caffeine side, flavor wise, pretty good.
Oh my God, yeah. And I tell that to everyone because everyone that knows that I drink it, their first reaction is, "Oh my God, that stuff! Oh, it's gonna be so dark and bitter." Not really. It's really smooth, man. You let it cool down for a minute, and then you could take it. You could shoot it straight down all at once, or you could drink it like a normal cup and savor and enjoy it, whatever.
Mhm. Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's my son. He knows firsthand also, like, no, listen, if dad doesn't have like at least 2 cups in him, it is best not to mess with dad right away, first thing in the morning.
Hmm.
Because
Yep.
I drank like 2 cups of Death Wish just to get the brain kick started.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like for me, caffeine is not my concern because I just got off sodas like about almost 10 years ago. Thanks to Arizona for that. Like I was drinking like Arizona juices, the big cans,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
and that got me off of drinking like Mountain Dews like several times a day and Dr. Peppers and all of that. And I was just killing the caffeine. Like I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And so I just started to pick up coffee, and that's where I began my journey. About around 2015 ish. That's where I began my journey. But it wasn't until I met Kevin Sinnott, and he's the guy that created Coffee Con, and started going to his little. He would do it. He would have it like several times a year in several different cities, and I've been to like 3 or 4. I've been to 4 of them, but only in 3 cities. And yeah, with the Coffee Squad, we've kind of been a part of the show a little bit, kind of gotten involved, and I've been enjoying myself. But it's mind blowing. Like you wouldn't think that like coffee would be on that level, the way cosplay is for like cosplayers and comic books for coffee for Comic Con. That like these people get together and they got all their different coffee beans from around the world, and they do this like this, and they have their beans processed like this, and they want you to taste it, and they want to explain it to you, and it's just mind blowing. These people tell you, yeah, this coffee is gonna taste like cinnamon. It's gonna have like an almond finish. I'm like, this cup with black coffee in it's gonna give me all of that, and then I sip it. Because of course, you gotta let it cool down first, but you sip it and you
Yeah.
get those notes because they know the exact grind, they know the exact water temperature to brew it in to get those notes. This,
Yeah, it's almost I almost kind of hate to use this analogy, but it's almost kind of like being like a wine aficionado. It's like being a coffee one because outside of Death Wish, my big go-to is a good Italian cup
Mhm.
because that's like where my big guilty pleasure is because my family will know like if I'm having a cup of Italian nut, that's for me to just sit back, calm down, relax, and be like, let me drink this, let this cup touch the soul, and then you
Yeah,
can approach me.
yeah, yeah. My
That's
go-to is Ethiopian. Ethiopian's my
ah
go-to.
that's my mom's also. She loves that brand. She loves that. She loves that one. She tells me about that all the time. If you ever get a chance to talk to Mama Vista, she'll tell you like how she went to New York a couple of times from when she was working. She used to be one of the head administrative nurses for a retirement home here, and she would have to go to New York City every now and then for business. And she'd tell you all the time when she would go there, first thing she'd do, go to this one coffee shop and get a cup of Ethiopian every time.
Mhm. Yep, yep. Their process is totally different, totally mind blowing as well. The coffee is very smooth, and they serve it in these little cups, and you just drink like 5, 6, 7. You'll get carried
Yeah,
away.
that and then next thing you know, you just get all big and bug eyed like
Yeah,
I can see sounds. Like that was pretty much my son's reaction the first time he tried a cup of coffee with me because every now and then I'll take him to this one place for like lunch or dinner and I get me a cup of cold brew.
hmm
And once I'll mix it up, make sure everything's mixed in, and I'm drinking something and be like, "You want to try? You want to try a bit?" First time he tried it, he had that reaction, like get big and bug eyed, and he was like, Oh my God. Like, okay, I think that's a little too much for you now.
Yeah. Cold brew is the new guy, man. Cold brew is like
Yeah.
the
Oh, it
new,
wasn't even regular cold brew, it was the nitro cold brew. That's the
yeah,
part I forgot to mention.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If regular brewed hot coffee is the old school gentleman, from the 1950s, like the guy who's driving in the the old 1960s
The
Plymouth.
old Studebaker.
Yeah, then Nitro Cold Brew is the dude from the future, man. He's the Marty
Yeah.
McFly of this thing, man.
Yeah, they got the flying car coming through like get off the ground, Grandpa.
Crazy, man.
That
But it's
kind of
tasty,
stuff.
man. It's very good. It's very good though. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And speaking of Death Wish, I just saw a thing popped up on my news feed. They just started making this new brand where you brew it hot and then you pour it over ice to make it ice.
Yeah,
So that way, yeah,
that's
yeah.
ice.
So yeah, yeah. I'm just letting you know so that way if you're interested on that. But I wanted to also ask you, man. I know, like I said, you do a lot of music. I know back in the day you would ask me, you'd ask me like, because you do some stuff on wrestling themed songs. You're
Mhm.
like, hey, let me ask you, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'd give you my honest opinion. I like this beat, the tempo's good. This goes a little fast, this goes a little slow, stuff like that. But I'm just curious because I've always tried to get into music. It's that whole brain, it's a barrier I just can't physically get into. And how's your creative process go? Because anytime I ever asked any musician I was buddies with in college, they were like under double secret probation on ever telling how their thought process went for making anything.
Hmm. Well, first of all, find your niche, find your pocket. Because I think right now, I've told people this before, and it's not just with music; it's with everything. But when you have a product that's generally positive for people to consume, somebody's gonna consume it. So you find a niche, find a product that you can produce for people. If it's a positive thing, something that people say, I like that. That's cool. That's hip. That's fun to watch or listen to or consume. They're gonna consume it. Somebody's gonna consume it. So um like when it comes to music, for me, I have to tap into who I am. I'm just being myself. Anytime you get music from me, you're just getting 100% authenticity from me. So what am I? Who am I? I'm a nerd, man. I like wrestling. I like horror movies. I like 80s movies, 90s movies, action films, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Van Damme, Bloodsport. Like I'm just like this grown 41-year-old nerd. So and then I like coffee too. So everything that I do and rap about and sing about and produce music wise is gonna be just all about the nerd that I am. And then I'll add, of course, you add that creativity to it. So that's on that side. Now, were you asking about the music process, like actually
Well,
like
more so like on how the creative process goes for it. Like, do you just sit there? Do you sit there like with a pad and a pen? Like, okay, I want to do something about Chucky meets Ash from Evil Dead, or is it just like a random idea popping your head and you're like, if let me play with that for a minute, and I think that can actually work into something. Is it something along those lines, or am I shooting like
a little
way
bit,
out of the park?
little bit of both. I mean,
Okay.
a little bit of both. I mean, you know, I remember one time when one of my friends was that I do music with. They wanted to do something for the New Day, um, and we just, he gave me the music, the track, and he just told me, yeah, it's just about the New Day. The name of the track is going to be New Day Rocks, and we did, I wrote my verse. Everything was about, it was about the New Day. I mean, it was just kind of like I kind of like when I wrote as if I was a member of the New Day. That's how I wrote. I think that's how we both wrote. You just wrote like we were like members of the New Day.
All right. Yeah, because I mean, I used to do the backyard wrestling stuff, and all I got told when I got given the Tim Vicious character, I got told, okay, I asked point blank, okay, well, what is he? That's for you to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, and that just kind of hit me like, wait, what? And I spent like the next couple of days scratching my head trying to figure out what is it? What is it? And I'm a huge movie nut. I prefer to
Mm-hmm.
watch movies. 9 out of 10 times I'll be watching a movie more than I'll watch a TV show. And I was watching Fight Club the one day, and it was at that scene where Brad Pitt was talking to Edward Norton saying, I'm you. I talk how you want to talk, I dress how you want to dress, and all that. And then that's when it finally clicked in my head. I just need to make it me and just
Mm-hmm.
turn it up to 11 and take the filter off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was. And that's on how that came to be. Like, I don't know if yeah, easy for me to say. If things like that, if that's on how like your creative process went. Because if you give me an idea, like you give me an inch and you give me enough time to think about it, I can either give you a mile or I can give you like 20 miles.
Mm-hmm. Because you've had that experience with wrestling and with that character, you also know about promos. So
Yeah.
so when I did my verse for New Day Rocks, like I said, I presented it as if I was a member, but I also rapped it as if I was cutting a promo, so the delivery of it was, listen, this is who I am. This is what we do. Get ready for us. It's the new day, and it just flowed. The only thing I had to do was put it to a cadence on a beat. That's the only difference. When you're doing a promo, you kind of talk how you want to, but when you're doing a song, it has to be on a beat, on a cadence.
Oh,
That's
yeah. Yeah, I think I kind of picked that. I kind of learned that the hard way because, I'm sure you've noticed ever since everything went to crap, as my son likes to put it, because of COVID, I started doing the Vicious Karaoke Party. And that made me like, that was my own, I kind of taught myself on how to time myself out on a song because you've heard the stuff I do. I'll go from something hard and heavy to something slow and soft. And it's like, okay, I got to really pace myself and time it out and go like this and go like that. And if I want to go and try and make it my own thing, I got to go and just, instead of trying to mimic them, I follow their cadence, but I make it my tone.
Yeah. Yeah, most
Yeah. And
definitely.
that was the thing I didn't realize I learned until the hard way until like about maybe 4 or 5 months into doing that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then once again, like you gotta find your pocket. I mean, there's some people that are multi-talented. There are some people who do one thing very well, and if you find that one thing you do very well, stay in that lane. Me myself, I know my lanes, and I don't go outside I don't go outside my lanes. So that's another thing. I like. Well, I know what I like, and when it comes to my interests, and so I often just rap about that or sing about that. I don't. My creative process is generally just, I try to be as relatable as possible.
Yeah, I get that, man. I get that. So let me ask you on this though. How do you like? I'm trying to think the right way to phrase this. I think that's the first time I've ever said that on here. But if you need to get like a clicker for how many times I say that on the rants, um, how do you feel like seeing like different wrestlers now starting to venture out into music? Also, I mean, obviously, Chris Jericho with the Fozzy thing aside, but like you see guys like Swerve Strickland, Chris Bay, even Frankie Kazarian in TNA, he does bass for a metal band. He does,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I kind of see that as like a good thing because aside from having multiple feathers in your hat, it's cool to see like guys saying that, hey, I got something I can do outside of this.
Mm-hmm. My thing about it is this: that's a very physical sport, and you can't put all your eggs in one basket on that. You have to have you gotta prepare your life for other ventures because you're not gonna, that's not gonna last forever. So what are you gonna do when wrestling's over? So when you got somebody who can do music or movies or whatever, if they can go another route that doesn't tax their body, especially when they get up in age, hey, and if you got that ability, I say it's amazing. Go for it. Do it. Be a triple threat. Be multi-talented because if a boxer is only good at boxing and then the boxing is over with, what else does he have left except for, the leftover concussions and the injuries and
Kind of
and then
like the kind of like that Mickey Rourke movie, The Wrestler. Like, did you ever
mm-hmm,
see that?
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I was like, because I brought that movie up to my brother when it first came out, and he was like, okay, well, what's the whole, I get it, but what's the big, like, underlying message you were trying to say? He, all he knew was being in the ring. He never knew nothing outside it,
mm-hmm.
you know?
Yep.
And that was
Movie,
the, and,
that movie was raw.
yeah,
it,
yeah. Cause,
it,
and I'm pretty sure I showed that to one dude I knew back in college. He was saying he was considering wrestling. And I just showed it to him, not like as like a scare tactic or like, hey, you need to watch this to be like a cautionary tale or anything. I just thought, okay, he digs wrestling. I dig wrestling. It's a wrestling movie. Dude, check this out. Next thing you know, like a day or two later, he came up to me. He was like scared out of his gourd going. It was like, no, I'm not going to do it now. Because after seeing that movie, man, I don't, if I can't make it, like, dude, that's like, it's just, no,
yeah,
go.
I
If
mean,
you want to do it, go.
yeah, I mean, he had some other issues. His character did, but I mean, if you look at somebody like CM Punk, who is like straight edge, they don't have any. He doesn't. He lives a life that's not caught up in any substance abuse or alcoholism or whatever. And he doesn't do any of that. He doesn't get caught up in, I guess, anything that could cause him to possibly slip down into something negative. I know some people might have their thoughts on CM Punk, so I'm not even gonna bring him up in like I'm just bringing
Yeah.
the fact
I
of
mean,
lifestyle, but I'm just saying like within the movie he went down a slippery slope because he also was messing around with substance abuse and other negative things, and that
yeah.
but you could just wrestle and have fun and go home to your wife and kids or girlfriend or whatever the case may be. You don't have to live the life of a rock star along
Yeah.
with
Cause I mean, when I did the wrestling stuff, I mean, yeah, it was backyard stuff, but me personally, I always kind of took it like if I was legit, like if I was doing a legitimate show. I
mm-hmm,
never I never partied or partook in anything before a match.
mm-hmm,
Now, after a match, back when I did drink, if I after a match, if I wanted one, I'd be like, "Hey, has anyone got a beer?" I would
mm-hmm.
have one.
Yeah.
And there was one or two times if I needed something for pain, I would take something, but that was it. But and I was never one to like go and put something up my nose, and I'm definitely afraid of needles, so you never have to
Yeah.
worry about seeing track marks on me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a difference between dabbling, like having a drink, and abusing alcohol. So we
Yeah,
know all of that, but
yeah,
yeah,
that's what actually made me go and get Edge all them
mhm,
years back.
mhm,
Because it was getting to the point on me where it wasn't getting fun anymore, and I needed more and more and more to get to that point, and it was just like I don't want to do this no more. And it
yeah,
was legitimately just like that. I woke up the one morning, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this no more, and I just dumped out what beer I had in the house. I had like maybe one or two cans, and then it was just like my brother was like, hey, you want to head out? Then I'm like, no, I'm not drinking anymore. Wait, what?
yep,
And that was the big thing that surprised everyone. Like, just like that? Yeah, just like that.
yeah, yeah,
And that was
yeah,
the thing that threw everyone off more than anything. The only one that seemed like actually like, oh, well, that's cool was like my best friend because I text her, was like, so yeah, I went straight edge now. She was
mm,
like, really? Yeah, well, good for you.
yeah. I think that, I mean, I think if anything you can commit to, it shows a lot of strength and a lot of discipline, and I'm with it. Um,
Yeah. And
Choices and
teach.
consequences, man. Choices and consequences. So I'm going.
Yes. Yes, that's a big lesson because I teach that to my son all the time. He's 14. He's 14 going on 15, and he's old enough now. He wants to learn on how to do weightlifting. So I take him to the gym with me once a week. I teach him on how to do the weights. And aside from just, okay, you're going to lift this up and you're going to do it like this and keep your back like this and shoulders like that so you don't get hurt. Aside from that, I'm also approaching them like I'm a teacher giving them a philosophy lesson. Like, listen, you need to make sure you know on how you're doing this. And you need to focus on this, think about that, do this, this, and this. And then once you figure all that out, then all of this is going to come to you like second nature. And he's like, what? Very much so like a 14-year-old, but it's very much so like it's he gets it. It's just it's at the same time he also don't like, you know what I mean, man? Like on on how kids can get sometimes with that. Like, yeah, I
Yep.
get what you mean, and then just kind of brush it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
10 years down the road though, he'll wind up picking up like a dumbbell and just be like, yeah, this is what dad was talking about.
Yep. Yep. Fatherhood is a grind.
Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, kids. There are days you just absolutely love them, and then there are days you just sit there and think, if you were not biologically mine, I would do horrifying, unspeakable things to you.
Go sit down, please.
Yes. Like I had to explain. Okay, little funny story. My son asked my mom, he was saying, when you go to the store again, can you buy me a bottle of pancake syrup? Sure, sweetie. What kind? Can you get Miss Buttersworth? Sure. And my jaw hit the floor and I just looked. I was like, seriously? What? Growing up, we got Save a Lot brand crap, and you said, and and you would say to us, you got one of two choices. You can get the blue cap or the yellow cap. Which one has maple? Neither. You're lucky you got something that tastes like syrup.
He said, which one has maple? Maple, neither.
Yeah, that was a legit. That would be legit conversations. It would legitimately go like that, man. Like, and I'm not trying to like do a oh poor pity me stuff. No, we grew up with what we had, and we didn't always have a lot. But if we wanted to save a lot, on how that goes. You get the
Yeah.
knockoff, you half of the periodic table in a bottle stuff.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Good old days.
Yeah, and then when she came home from the store and she pulled out the bottle, my first reaction, I just looked, I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Really? You actually got him that? Well, he's the grandson. You're the son. Notice the difference? Yeah, he gets the name brand stuff.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's wild, man. It is wild. we I had a pretty good childhood, so I can't complain.
Oh yeah, man, can't argue on it, and I always joke around saying, all the stuff that happened as a kid, good and bad, I wouldn't trade it because all of that made all that stuff, the good and the bad, that's what made us who we are now.
Yeah, and we're a different generation.
Yeah.
I had just
like we grew up.
No, I was just saying, I just had a conversation with my friends about, how things were changing, and we just have to accept that this is no longer this is what I'm trying to say. When you look at McDonald's, this is our kids' McDonald's now. It's no longer ours. And we just have to accept that. Either you accept it and you still go and get your little Big Mac and fries and accept the fact that it's not going to taste like it did in 1997, or just don't go to McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like McDonald's, and I would tell my son all the time, like, Dude, McDonald's, it did not look like this. This looks like the inside of a coffee shop, man. When I was a kid, McDonald's, it was all big, bright colors, fancy, balloon looking like seats, things like that. And they even had a little play place area for kids to run around in circles in. Really? Yeah. What happened? It grew up.
Yep. They grew up, and then they tried to make everything super fast. Go over here, go to this little screen, put your order in, then go over here, pick up your order. But like when it comes to everything that's kid friendly, it's just more so like, well, we got Happy Meals. But I will say though, when I looked at the menu, I'm just like, wow. Like I don't know if they even still do, but I remember at one time they were serving oatmeal at breakfast or
Yeah,
something.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, what?
This is not McDonald's.
Oatmeal?
McDonald's don't serve oatmeal.
Going to McDonald's and getting a bowl of oatmeal is the equivalent of like going to a crack house for multivitamins.
Thank you. Thank you. Like, I mean, it's just wild. It's like you get to a point where, like, wait a minute, Burger King is selling hot dogs now. I don't even know if they're still selling hot dogs, but it's the
They
fact
got
that,
mozzarella sticks now.
yeah, it's like they never did, and now all of a sudden they do, and it's like, what are you guys trying to be? You're a burger spot. It says Burger King, and I want your burgers to be top notch, and instead you're trying to come out with all these different things that are just mozzarella sticks. Like, really?
It seems like the only one that kept their menu pretty much the same as like Dairy Queen to an extent. They got ice
Yeah.
cream, cheeseburgers, and chicken fingers.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, plain and simple.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
But yeah, me and my friends had long conversations about that, about how, even the value of food and like going out to eat, restaurant patronism has gone way down. When I was younger, when we were younger, going out to eat was an event. Like if
Yeah.
somebody, if your mom came to you and said, "Tim, get up, we're going to Red Lobster." Well, you're gonna put on your good clothes for that. I mean, that's an event. We getting ready to go to Red Lobster, and we're gonna be on our best behavior, hopefully. But now people go to Red Lobster. I mean, most Red Lobsters are closing now, but people go to Red Lobster for lunch. It's not even a big deal now. And when people do go, they take all their kids. Their kids are running all over the place, all up under the table, and it's not a pleasant place to be. You're kind of like, I need to just hurry up, eat my food, and leave. Like, and it's like that across the board. Like TGI Fridays, Applebee's, like these places are no longer even a factor. You just go there and get your appetizers and go home.
Yeah.
Wow. And then, of course, COVID came and made it even worse, because now it's just like everybody door dashes and everybody just gets delivery, and people don't even really go out to eat like that.
Yeah, they'll Grubhub that, John.
Yeah. I just remember, it's just wild how times have changed with that.
I know, man. It's because I'll bring that up to my boy. I'm like, dude, listen, it was not like this when I was a kid, and I'm not trying to be that old man doing why back in my day. I'm giving you a history lesson here. I'm telling you, this is on how it was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're 14 going on 15. You've got literally you got access to everything in the known world in the palm of your hand and with your phone. When I was at 14 going on 15, I had to beg my mom to let me unplug the phone line so that way I could use a computer.
Yeah.
And you just look like, what? Like he couldn't understand that.
Yeah. It's like everything from the movie theaters to bowling. Everything for me was an event. Whenever I was going somewhere, I'm going bowling tonight. We going bowling.
Oh yeah.
Everything was an event. Now, wherever you go, whether you go to the movies, bowling, if you even freaking go to the library, young kids are like this now. Everywhere you go, nothing excites them.
Oh yeah, no, I make sure, because like if I'm taking my son out somewhere, I'm like, dude, you keep that phone in your pocket unless it's an emergency. You got me? If you want to take a picture of something, that's one thing. Because like every Father's Day, me and him, we got a tradition. We do the zoo. I'm a big zoo nut. I'm a big zoo enthusiast. So is he, and the zoo's like maybe 2 blocks from our house.
Mm.
So it's just like it makes perfect sense. Every Father's Day, we go. The only time we didn't was the year COVID hit. Like we would go even during the rainy weather. We would still go for Father's Day. And we'll go, and like, not the only time we take either of us take our phones out is like if we want to get a picture of something like, oh, wait, there's the gator. Oh, he's running, click. And that's
Yeah.
it. That's it. Other than that, nah, neither of us take the phone out the whole, we're walking around looking like, hey, check this out.
Yeah. Now I don't mind tourism. I mean, if you got to take your phone, if you're in another place, because me and my family were up in Philly recently. We went up to Philadelphia for the first
Did you
time.
get, did you get any good, where'd you get, did you get any cheesesteaks?
Yeah.
Oh, for
I
the
did.
love of God, I got to ask this. Please tell me it was not Pat's or Geno's.
I don't think so. We
Oh,
were.
thank God.
I don't think so, man.
Hey, listen. I'm a Philly boy, and I can tell you right now, Pat's and Geno's are tourist traps. That's it. Nobody from Philadelphia goes there unless it's like 3 in the morning and you're recovering from getting drunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
Nobody from Philly really goes there like that.
and this is a standalone place.
Oh, Pat's and Geno's, they're literally like right across the street from each other.
Okay.
They're
No.
tourist traps. That's all
Yeah.
they
No.
are.
This was we stayed at a hotel that was like right at the edge of Chinatown, like in walking distance. And then we would go to Chinatown sometimes to get some good dumplings and boba because
Oh
I
God,
have three
yeah.
girls and my girls love Asian food and culture and everything. So they were all over the boba teas and the pork buns, all of that. But then we would go the other direction, walk a couple of blocks, and we would hit up like the little markets and stuff that had like you would go in the market and there's like just tons of food vendors in there. And we got our cheesesteak out of there. I don't believe it was Pat.
Okay.
I don't
No,
believe
no, no. That wouldn't have been Pat's or Geno's then. Because I was going to tell you, man, because I was going to say, man, trust me, do not go near Pat's or Geno's. That's just a tourist trap. And that's
Mhm.
coming from a kid, that's coming from a Philly boy. I grew up in South Philly, man.
Mhm.
You know, from the time I was born in Philly and I lived there until I was like 19.
Mhm.
So, and the ECW arena was like a few blocks from my house.
Mhm.
So I would go to ECW all the time, man. It would just be like I would go and like call a buddy of mine, be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" "No, I'm getting ready to go see a movie." "What movie?" Such and such." "All right, do me a favor." "What?" "Let me know on how it is." "Why?" "I'm going to ECW." My family asked. Just say I went to the movies with you. "Seriously, dude?" "Yeah." I mean, dude, you've seen ECW. You know on how violent that was. It was
Yeah.
my family would have killed me if they would have known I was a kid going to the arena.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you think the hardcore
ECW
stuff
kind of
was bad. You should imagine that kind of whooping I would have got.
yeah, no, ECW kind of reminds me of just like a monster truck show. It's just chaotic, like chaotic fun.
Honest,
Like
oh yeah. I mean, honestly, if I had to describe it, it was like being in it would be like, I'd have to say it was like being in a mosh pit at a rock concert for like your favorite rock band.
mm-hmm.
It was wild, it was chaotic, but it was a controlled kind of chaos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, if somebody screwed up, we all did the you fucked up chants.
Yeah.
Sandman comes out, we're all singing Enter Sandman, and we're all like, all right, is he gonna come over this way? Is he gonna pour beer down my mouth, or what's he gonna do? Everyone wanted to try and get a pic, try and look under Francine or Beulah, try and take a look at Francine or Beulah, that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yep. I caught a little bit of ECW. I was more of a WCW fan growing up.
At that, I was gonna actually ask you on that. I know you're North Carolina, right?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you grew up with like the WCW and like did you ever catch any of the JCP stuff, the Jim Crockett stuff?
On TV.
Yeah, yeah, on TV or in person.
I hadn't been to too many shows. I'm sheltered.
No, it's all good, man. It's
I'm
all
going
good.
too much.
Listen, I snuck out to those ECW shows. The only shows I ever went to with the only I went to WWE shows. My parents would take us. They would take me and my brother every year. They would come on Super Bowl Sunday. They would call it pregame pandemonium.
Mm-hmm.
So we would always go that Super Bowl Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So trust me, I get it, man.
I did go to a Thunder. That was what I did go to was a Thunder, but I never did go to a Nitro. But I knew that there was a WCW and a WWF growing up, and I liked them both because there were certain wrestlers that I liked on both promotions. But then as they started to bloom into WWF Attitude Era, right before that, right before the Attitude Era really punted off, WCW, they had their Saturday night and everything, and then they bloomed into, I guess starting to be what was, the Monday Night Wars with Nitro. But when they first became the Attitude Era and Nitro, I started to lean towards Nitro because the WWF was kind of, even though I liked The Rock and Stone Cold and the Nation of Domination, Kane, the Undertaker, I liked all of that. There was certain things going on there that I didn't really care for. It would kind of bore me a little bit. Like there were certain characters outside of that I was just like, I don't Gold Dust. I don't know if I like all, like there was just certain characters. So and then I would look over here and I'm seeing that a lot of WWF characters are sliding over to the and it got to a point where I'm doing the remote thing back and forth.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was guilty of that. I would switch in between like every like 20 minutes, like, okay, TNT, USA, TNT, USA. I was guilty of that myself.
Yeah.
You know,
I think, man, this opens up a whole nother can of worms, but how do you feel about gimmicks? Do you think that they kind of did away with them at the perfect time? Because I mean, back in the day they worked. And then there was brief moments, pockets there where gimmicks weren't working at all. And then there was eventually a time where they had to just kind of let wrestlers be themselves, kind of like just let them do what they do without the gimmick. It's kind of
I
how
think
we
it
got to
depends
rock.
on the I think it depends on the wrestler and the gimmick itself, because you see somebody like a Gangrel who was a vampire like from the Lost Boys, absolutely loved it. You got somebody like Goldust who, okay, it's going to be hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get somebody like, and then using today modern wrestlers, you got somebody like Abaddon, who is the Living Dead girl. I absolutely love seeing her. And then you got somebody who I think is highly underrated for a gimmick, Danhausen.
I'd have to look that person up.
Danhausen, he was in AEW. Just he didn't get much TV time, short
Mm-hmm.
from some TV with the Best Friends. But man, Danhausen, he could be super silly, super creepy, but either way, it's the gimmick. If the wrestler can believes in the gimmick, then I'm all for it. Like, think of it like this: if Chris Evans didn't think he was going to be good at playing Captain America, do you think he would have been good as Cap in any of the Marvel movies?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the same concept. You got to believe you can pull this character off. You got to know the character you're going to be. It's like with me, I had to be Tim Vicious. Okay, well, who is he? Well, he's a street punk. Well, I'm a street punk. He runs his mouth all the time, even if he knows he's going to wind up getting his ass kicked for it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, guilty. He's not afraid of a fight, but he doesn't just blindly walk into one. Again, guilty. And he'll go and be like, he'll go and poke the bear to the point the bear bites the arm off.
Mm-hmm.
Again, yeah, you got to know if you know the gimmick and you're comfortable enough with it, I'm all for it. If you can sell me on it, it's no different than like trying to sell me on signing up for a credit card or buying a car.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
think
on how I look at it.
yeah. How do you feel about AEW?
I like them. I like them. I always hope. I'm very much so a delusional optimist in this way. Of I always hope for the best.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think it's good to have another have another wrestling company on TV. You know, have other companies out there for competition because, and I learned this listening to Jeff Jarrett. You
Hmm.
can't have a number one without a solid number two, without a number two.
Hmm.
And if you're going to say WWE's number one, well, let me ask you, who's number two then?
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, when WCW went down, and when WCW and ECW went down, that created a huge void
Yep.
of, well, I don't, now what?
Hmm.
You know, and there was a huge void for a long time. And, you know, and then you had that long span of your options to watch on TV were just WWE,
Yeah.
TNA, or Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And I always loved Ring of Honor.
Hmm.
I always loved Ring of Honor. Getting, you know, it started out in Philly, so it holds a special place in my heart because of that.
Yeah.
But I loved Ring of Honor, always have. But just I want to see the product grow, and it doesn't feel like it's growing to me. It feels like, if anything, it's starting to deflate little by little, almost kind of like a death of a thousand cuts kind of way.
Yeah. I don't know what I don't know because I'm not like I just watch the product and I follow wrestlers that I'm very much a fan of. Before I get into that portion, I do want to say that I'm very, very excited and proud of how the women's division of wrestling has stepped up.
Oh
Back
my
in
God, yes.
back in the 90s, all they did was I mean, they did
We
some
had,
pretty amazing things, but like all I ever saw them do was slap each other, pull hair, and then
yeah.
like splash water on each other for like wet t-shirt contests or
For
something.
those that did not grow up in the 90s or see
Yeah.
anything from the 90s, we're gonna explain it to you like we're the old men talking about back in my day. It was the women's wrestling pretty much consisted of girls ripping each other's clothes off to the point they were in their underwear and it looking like a cat fight, just pulling hair, tossing each other around, looking like the opening 5 minutes of a really bad skin flick.
Yeah, it basically looked like Cinemax for
Yeah,
for wrestling.
yeah, it did
But
for the longest time, and then it just and then eventually women started to be like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be here for TNA. Got the promotion, the actual anagram for those who may want to split hairs.
mhm,
But, you know, some girls were like that and were just like, you know what? No, I'm going to be a legit badass. I want to
mhm,
be a legitimate badass. I want to actually work, and they went out and they did it. And it's now where there are times when my brother's daughter, she'll
mhm,
come around. She's about 7 or 8. She'll come around and she'll watch and she'll see some wrestling. Like, what was it? A couple months ago, she saw a Becky Lynch match
mhm,
and she was just like, these girls can do that kind of stuff, Uncle Timmy? Oh, yeah.
mhm.
If you wanted to when you grow up, you could do that. I could? Like, oh, yeah. Yeah, you definitely could. You could beat them people. You could beat them up. Oh, I'm pretty sure you could even beat me up,
Mhm.
you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
So yeah, I'm all for it because I'm happy to see it evolve and grow.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it's evolution. You're not always going to get what you want out of evolution, but 9 out of 10 times you're going to get what you need out of it.
Yeah. So I am happy about that, but I do want to see a lot more. A lot. I know there's always this level of competition between companies, but I enjoy the product overall when they work together because
Yeah,
I'm one of those consumers that's like I just want to see wrestling. I'm one of those guys that's in the stands going Johnny Wrestling because I just want to see two guys or two girls or whatever rumbling. I don't care whether it's AEW or WWE or NXT, or I don't care about the brand directly enough for me to say, well, TNA's better than. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like when I saw
You're
Jordan
like you're
Grace.
saying you're not brand loyal. You're not like brand loyalty. You're more loyal to the performer as opposed to the company they're working with.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I
Okay, yeah, I
respect.
just wanted to make sure I understood.
Yeah. I'm saying I respect WWE for coming a long way. But if you're the I don't want to say the standard. Like I don't want to, because I want to make sure my words are correct. But if you're the guy that's been standing on top for so long, you're the biggest name. You're so big, you even bought out like the second biggest name from early 2000s. It's like once you did that, it's like you stood tall, but then it's like, who are you standing tall amongst? And it's like, and then what are you sacrificing when you do that? Meanwhile, when there was a WCW and WWF, we had great wrestling from both. We didn't have really any terrible years. We might have had a couple of months where it's like, I don't know what WCW is doing, man, but you never had bad whole years. It was just, you had competition in that manner. But I don't know. I just
Yeah.
see AEW working with like Ring of Honor and whatnot and other
Well, they
factions.
actually Tony bought Ring of Honor.
Bottom.
I don't know. Yeah, he bought them a couple of years ago, but to what you're saying about what like the partnership WWE's doing with TNA, I definitely like. I'm hoping we eventually get to see some WWE guys more so work in TNA. I know they had the one girl, what's her name? Tatum Paxley work the TNA pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping we see some other TNA or some other WWE people working in a TNA ring. And not only that, I don't know if you saw any of the wrestling news, but they got AJ working in Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan soon.
Mm-hmm.
They got their work. I read something saying they're trying to work on a partnership with AAA in Mexico.
So I want to
Excuse.
ask you a question. Maybe you can help me, because maybe from being in that lane. Can you tell the difference between like a WWE match and an AEW match, the way it's presented? I don't know if it's the character or the gimmick presentation or what, or if it's what's more geared towards wrestling, or if you could even say that, because I don't want to take away from talent in WWE and say, oh, they're not really really wrestling, because that wouldn't be fair. That's far from the truth. But what I'm saying is, it's like a different product, because I've seen some wrestling matches in AEW where I was like, oh my gosh, like, whoa.
Yeah, you
And
see
then you
some
would
stuff
never
in there, and you're just like, what the?
but you would
You
never
never
see
thought
that in the
you'd see
WWE.
that.
They wouldn't do that in the WWE, is all I'm saying. Theirs is a little bit more fireworks and music, you
Yeah.
know. And so I'm
Yeah,
like,
WWE, they've kind of put like more focus on storytelling and not a whole lot of heavy physicality, like where somebody may wind up looking like they got a broken arm or they're bleeding buckets of blood and that kind of stuff.
mm-hmm,
Whereas in AEW, yeah, you'll see that.
mm-hmm.
You'll see it's more trying to think the right way to word this because I got it in my head. Almost kind of like it's tailored almost to like the quote unquote internet wrestling community kind of
It's
fan
weird.
base.
It's weird the way it's presented. It just I'm equating it to food, but it just tastes different. Like the
Yeah.
difference between putting something in the microwave and putting it in the air fryer. It's like when what's his name, Eddie Kingston, gets on the mic and he's just like, you know what? I don't want to win. I don't care about winning or losing. I just want to beat you up. I just want to beat you up. And I'm just like, they don't talk like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
And
don't
I
even.
love Eddie for that reason. He's like, nah, partner. I'm going to make this simple. I don't care if I win or lose. All I want to do is just kick your freaking ass. Like, that sounds like a dude I'd actually hang out with. That
Thank
sounds
you.
like somebody I know.
Yeah. And then in the WWE,
Whereas
they're
you'll see
like,
in WWE, you know what? When I beat you, I'm gonna take such pride in winning.
Yeah,
You're gonna see me rub it in your face. That
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
I'm going to. It's like they'll say all this stuff, and then at the very end they say, "When I beat you at Backlash."
yeah, yeah, that kind of stuff.
And so it's like a little different. The presentation's just different.
Yeah, it's the presentation more than anything. It's like the difference between when you saw the Marvel movies versus when the Zack Snyder DC movies.
Hmm.
The Zack Snyder DC movies, they were still superhero movies, but they were very dark and gritty. And oh my God, you saw characters with conflict. Superman felt bad because he had to kill somebody. Batman hurts people very badly to the point where sometimes he even leaves them for dead. But all the while in Marvel, you'll see Spider-Man making jokes like, "Is that a metal arm? Oh my God, that's so cool." You know,
Yep.
you see things like that.
Yep.
It's like what you said. It's like if the difference between tasting a slice of pizza that was cooked in a microwave versus one that was made heated up in an air fryer. I
Mhm.
totally get that, man. Yeah, it's a matter of the presentation.
And at the same time though, because I love wrestling so much and I've always loved watching it, I'm willing to overlook it because I have favorites from both sides. I know that I watched it when I was little, and then I stopped watching it when WCW got purchased. And then for about 10 years, I didn't watch it. And then I started watching it again when I found out in around 2010, 2011 that Macho Man passed away, Bret Hart retired, but then he came back to the WWE to make amends with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels retired from the Undertaker bout. And then I found out about this guy called Randy Orton. And I was like, let me go back and take a look. And I was just like, I missed a lot. Like I missed
Yeah.
Cena showing up, Dave Bautista showing up. I missed a whole lot.
Oh
But
yeah.
but
And
yeah, like
I'm that nerd that grew up in it. Like, if you ever got a chance to sit down and talk to my dad, he would tell you, like, when he was like 17, 18, he would go to the shows and like he was like a heartbeat away from actually getting into a legit fight with Blackjack Mulligan.
mm, not black.
And I don't know if you ever heard of any of the stories about Blackjack Mulligan, but he was a legit badass. Like,
Mm,
he was the kind of dude you would not want to pick a fight with.
mm,
And when my dad told me that, I was like, "You do realize how lucky you are you didn't get into a fight with him, right?" Like, and he just looked, he was like, "Why?" And then I showed him all these different interviews talking about stories on how badass he was. He was like, "Holy shit." Like, yeah.
he was probably just like, man, I didn't know. I was just ready to wreck somebody.
That's exactly what he said. He was like, I was 18. I thought I was hot stuff. Like, yeah, well, you're still lucky.
Yeah.
Because you were 18, you were legally old enough for him to beat you sideways.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm glad to hear, I'm love talking shop with you on this stuff, man. I'm getting the go ahead from my producer, Wade. We got to start wrapping it up. It's
Yes, sir.
getting to that time. I appreciate you taking the time on, and I say this to every guest that comes on. Thank you for taking the time to go out of your way to be on here. You could have been out there doing a million different things, but you chose to sit here. You always got my gratitude and my thanks for that. You're always welcome back anytime. If you got any plugs or anything you want to get out there, by all means, you're more than welcome to, because I'm gonna make sure I put them in the description also.
Yeah, well, most definitely. Coffee Squad, y'all heard us talking about it earlier. Everything about the squad is at www.coffeesquad.com, and it's Coffee Squad with 3 E's, COFFEEE squad, all together one word.com. And other than that, I've made some music with some buddies of mine, and we go by Third Cousin. It's 3RDCZN. Third Cousin, and that's available on Spotify. And yeah, uh, the links will be made available to you, and partake of that if you have any additional time. And I appreciate y'all listening in. I've had fun here today.
I'm glad, man. like I said, you're welcome to come back. We'll definitely be talking shop some more. You know, go catch up from here onward, talking about, we talk about wrestling, talk about coffee, talk about more nerdum stuff because I know I'd love to pick your brain about nerd culture and on where that's at right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, we talk on Twitter all the time. It's Twitter for me. I'm never gonna call it X. Sorry, Elon.
Oh no. What was it? That line from Coming to America. It's mama named it Twitter. I'ma call it Twitter.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. See, you get it. You get that one. Yes.
I told you, man. I have people that I talk to we talk in movie lines, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, man, I thank you again for taking the time to be on here. Folks, thank you for taking the time to listen and watch the show. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Take care.